Welcome to a new video! Today I'm going to share with you my Sunavalon / Plant Link deck profile. Now this is a deck that I really wanted to share for a very long time because I think it's a really cool deck and has a lot of interesting things that it's able to do. It's basically like Dragon Links, but plants, and of course plants are a little bit not stronger as Dragon Links because they don't really have the same amount of support, but it's still really cool. But before I jump right into the video itself, I have two things to say. The first one is actually that this video, unfortunately, is not built for Master Duel, and let me explain. There is one particular card called Sunvine Sowing, which is a very important and vital card to the deck, and unfortunately, it's not part of Master Duel yet. This particular card is of course showing on screen. So until that card will not come into Master Duel, unfortunately, I cannot make this list for you guys. So, I'm sorry for all the Master Duel players out there. This is just, unfortunately, right now is going to be exclusive for the TCG, but it will be something that if you're looking forward to and you just want to test maybe by yourself, or essentially maybe look into when the update will come with the new cards, you can maybe, gear into, because I think it's really interesting. And the second thing, obviously, is that if you want to see more videos like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It's helped out a ton. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video itself. Alright, so jumping right into the list itself, we're going to start things off with the 6 core monsters on the deck, or should I say like the monster core engine, which is the 3 copies of Genius Loki, which is the heart and soul of the deck, 2 copies of Twin, and then the 1 copy of Shadow. This is basically your Sunavalon engine. These are the only cards for Sunavalon that you need to run, or Sunvine, whatever you like to call them. They have like 3 engines, which is like the Sunseed, the Sunavalon, and the Sunvine. So these are the Sunseeds that you want to run, which are only these 6. Shadow is a nice free special summon if you control a Genius Loki because it's a normal plant monster. You don't really use it for its second effect. And Twin is the card that you want to run a 2, even though you kind of use its effect only once per duel most of the time, because you do want to basically not draw into this and like your entire combo is dead. You need 2 just to make sure that your combo is not dead, that's why we run 2 of this card. Now, in things like other decks that like run, for example, Orpheus Scorpio as an engine, this is not like the heart and soul of the deck, for example, so this is required to run a 2 because of that reason. And then, of course, Genius Loki doesn't really need any explanation. It's a cool normal monster that just basically make the entire deck work. Now, for the rest of the plant support, we have first off 3 copies of Lawnfire Blossom, the 1 copy of Murdell, the 1 copy of Snowdrop, the 1 copy of Mudan, 1 copy of Cactus Bouncer, 1 copy of Rose Princess, 1 copy of Rose Girl, and 1 copy of Laurel, or should I say our Mage Laurel. These are your additional plant monsters that you run in the deck, which are really useful. Lawnfire Blossom doesn't really need any explanation. It's just Lawnfire Blossom. It gets whatever you need out of your deck. You have now here, Mardell, because she searched your combo pieces from these cards, which is really cool. The Rika engine is basically here to help you search the so-called Rika sheet, which is kind of like a Snatch, Steal, Sledge, and like a trap negation to your monster effects, which is really cool. And then you also have the ability to use these cards to summon Teardrop, which is a very strong boss monster. Now, this engine of the Rikas is a little bit on the expensive side, at least like, for TCGs, because, for example, Snowdrop for some reason is like a $4 super rare, and Teardrop herself is like a $30 like secret rare for some reason. I don't know. It is what it is, how that works with that, but yeah. So the point is that this card is the card that's allowing you, like, you search these 2 in pairs most of the time, and the point is that you use discard effect to tribute a plant, special summon it out of the hand, which then will summon this with it, because that's kind of like the intention of this one, and then you're going to use the effect to basically search with this one the Rika sheet that I shown before. Then you're going to use discard effect to make both of these level 8, and then you just exceed them off into Teardrop, which is your additional boss monster in the deck. Cactus Bouncer is for the combos that you do not normal summon, open up with an unexpected die or something like that, and you just have the additional normal summon. You can search this, normal summon this, and it just becomes the nuts, and your opponent cannot do anything. Rose Princess is in order to search, White Rose Cloister, which is a field spell that you can search in order to give you additional special summons if you need to. Not recommending to running White Rose Cloisters more than one. Maybe I will run this card at 2 just to see it a little bit more, but it's not the end of the world not to see it. It just makes things a little bit more interesting and very, very good for the deck. Rose Girl is just Rose Girl is a free special summon with plants, and it also can recover itself to your hand as a discard fodder for like your 2 of your Sunvine cards. Like, you know, Sunvine Shrine, you can just use this as double discard fodder, which is really, really good. And then Laurel, if your life points are higher, which they will be due to the effect of one of the extra deck monsters, this is a free body, and this is also allowing you to get the double search for these 2 cards with your 2 Jasmines, which we'll get to those when we'll talk about the extra deck. But that does it for the plant monsters, and then for the last monster in the entire deck that you run, that you need in the main deck, is the 3 copies of Parallel Exceed. Now, I'm not saying that the card was specifically built for this deck, because definitely it wasn't. It was supposed to be for some particular like Exceed/Link heavy decks, but this card allows for so many shenanigans, which I will show you in the second combo, which is really, really great. Like this plus a Son plus a Genius Loki, this is basically 5 interruption combo. Like, it's such a good card. It's such a great extender. It's allowing you to chain block your big important Link 1, which will allow you to get the search, and it's also just a great card to just help you extend and get an additional fodder for particular other things as well, because you can make with this the rank 4 Strena, which is basically a recovery for your plant monsters, and then you can just tribute it and summon the big train deer or whatever else that you think is necessary. But that does it for the monsters lineup. Now we'll move on into the spells, and for the spells we have first off the, well, plant-based spells, which are the 3 copies of Sowing, the double copies of Sunvine Shrine, and then the 1 copy of White Rose Cloister. Now, the cards here that I mentioned before, why Master Duel players, I cannot make you that list for this deck to your Master Duel, is Sunvine Sowing. Until this card will not come to Master Duel, this deck will be so much more weaker and almost unplayable compared to it. Because this card allowed to make Twins such a good card. It's basically 1 card when you search with Dryas that's allowing you to summon 3 monsters with 1 card. It's such a good card, and it's also, like, I would say, like, it's a superior extender, but it's an okay starter. Like, it's not the worst, but, like, you want to activate this after you have the Dryas on the field, because this makes you take 1,000 damage, which is very, very good, because your Dryas is going to heal you, and going to give you a Sunvine monster out of your extra deck, due to the effect of how you take damage with, you know, the Sunavalon stuff. So that's really, really good. I like this card at 3 so much. And it's a card that came for us in Burst of Destiny. I don't know when Burst of Destiny is going to go into Master Duel, so for the time being, unfortunately, I cannot proxy that deck for you guys, because this card is so important. Sunvine Shrine is not a hard once per turn monster reborn, but you need to activate it and you control a Sunavalon Link monster or you know, one of those monsters. And then you basically have to discard a card to activate it, but every single turn, this is the monster reborn for your Genius Loki, which is really, really good when you come into the grind games, especially with cards that like shuffle things back into your extra deck with Pot of Avarice, which I run in the deck, which I'm going to spoiler share right now. So this is allowing you sometimes to just redo the combo again, especially if you have Pot of Avarice in your hand. And then White Rose Cloister, this is just a searchable field spell that's giving you the free special summon, which is pretty important. But that does it for those. And then for the additional utility spells, we have 3 copies of Painful Decision, 3 copies of Unexpected Die, 2 copies of Pot of Avarice, 1 copy of Monster Reborn, and then the 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster to round off our spells. Harpy Feather Duster, we see a lot of annoying back row decks, so at least I want one way to deal with them. Monster Reborn is Monster Reborn, although I do consider to cut it down completely, because I don't really see Nibiru that much, and I'm not really super afraid of it that much. So I might actually just going to cut this and run a 3rd copy of Pot of Avarice, because this deck is not super afraid of things like Ash Blossom, and Draw doesn't really do a whole lot against this deck. Like, there's almost no hand traps that like this deck cannot really play through. I wouldn't say the end boards will be amazing, but like the deck is able to play through multiple hand traps pretty easily, not say easily, but pretty well. So I might want to run a 3rd copy of Pot of Avarice, because of the fact that Pot of Avarice is really, really good, because one of the weaknesses of the deck is no draw power, and because of the fact that your extra deck just can run out really, really quickly, and you need something to put back in order to do all your entire combo again. So I might going to cut the Monster Reborn for a third pair of Avarice, which is something that I do consider. Unexpected Die, summon the Genius Loki from your deck, and of course Painful Decision is another 3 way to see the Genius Loki. Basically, in your deck, you have 15 ways to see this card with the 3 copies of itself, the 3 Lawn Fire Blossom, the 3 Sowing if you have to, and then these 2 3 of cards, which add to 15, which is very important because Genius Loki is the backbone of the deck. So you have to run those cards just because of that card specifically. It's even more of a hard card importance than the Suship for Suship or the normal monster for Magic Key. This is so important for the strategy that you have to run this card at 3, and you have to basically run the most ways for you to summon it. Now, one other way that people maybe consider is Rescue Rabbit, but Rescue Rabbit is really bad because it's not a plant, so if your opponents stop it, and you're not able to just summon another something with it or anything, your combos could end. So that's why we're only running the 15 ways. I think those are enough. But that does it for the spells, and for the traps we have 5. We have the 1 Bloom, the 1 Sheet, and then the 3 copies of Infinite Permanence, which is served as our hand trap. I wish I could run more hand traps, but I run only the impactful one, at least for the TCG. Now, in the OCG, when you get, or should I say not the OCG, in Master Duel, when we're going to get the Sunvine Shrine, right? Or not Sunvine Shrine, like Sowing in the game, I do recommend to run this instead to be Max C. But, you know, you can decide whatever you want to. Sheet, I already been over. This is basically just a negation effect. And then if you treat a plant monster, it's also a Snatch Steal until the end of the turn, or Crackdown, if you will. And then Sunavalon Bloom is basically a 1-turn for the currently existing monsters on the field that are not plants, that are not yours. Basically just a skill drain to them, so that's also really, really good on that department. Searchable, BioLink 4, which is something that we'll get to when we'll get to the extra deck. But that does it for the main deck. 40 cards, as standard. Now we'll move on into the extra deck. For the extra deck, we're going to start things off with the most important core of your deck, which is the Link ones, which is the 1 copy of Healer, the 2 copies of Thrasher, and then the 3 copies of Sunavalon Dryas. These are the only Link ones you need. You don't really need to run anything else. Dryas is the backbone of the deck. If you Link summon it in the extra monster zone using Genius Loki, you get to search any of your Sunvine spells or traps, which are either going to be, the one that I said that is not in Master Duel, Sowing, and also Shrine. These basically able to search them, and it's also not a hard ones per turn. Another effect that really, really important for this with Sowing is that if you take damage by battle or whatever, anything, you gain the life points back, and then you summon a Sunvine monster out of your extra deck, which most of the time for most combos is going to be a Healer, because Healer will make you life points higher than your opponent, which make it very possible for you to use some of your other Link 2s and also special summon the Laurel as part of your combo, which then will allow you to do some really, really cool stuff. So yeah, it's pretty important to have this card at 3. It's your main searcher, your main Link 1. Thrasher is your basically big boss monster. If you have additional, plant Link monsters, this is able to target your Link 4. This become a 4000 beat stick, which is also a Link 1, and it's also able to steal monsters, which is really, really powerful. So this card is very, very good. It's basically your way to OTK, because this deck doesn't really have a whole lot of power when it comes to attacking, but this is supposed to basically cover that, which is really, really good. Healer, I already mentioned, is basically only here because of this card, and also can help you win in time, because, just getting even 300 life points more than your opponent could be the difference today by winning or losing. Now, for the rest of the other Link monsters, we have only Link 2s, 2 Link 2s, 2 Link 3s, and 2 Link 4s. Basically, these are the ones that you want to run. Jasmine is the card that benefits from the effect of having more life points and gaining life points. Or should I say, gaining life points, that's what Laurel is here for, because Laurel will special summon itself if you have more life points than your opponent, and then if you send it to the graveyard, you're getting 500 life points, which will trigger simultaneously both of these if they're on your side of the field, and will give you both 2 searches for plants. Now, the point of this card is that tributing your own monsters, sometimes to just get out of your deck the Mardell, because this card allowing you to summon any plant out of your deck, which is really, really cool. But the point is, this is more for, summoning the Mardell, search the Laurel. If your life points are, higher, special summon the Laurel, link the Mardell and the Laurel into the second Jasmine, and then get the double searches. The tribute effect is 100 once per turn, the search is not, which is kind of weird, but it is what it is. Melis is here mostly for the fact that it's a way to, again, Monster Reborn, Sunvine Genius Loki, or Sunseed Genius Loki, and also just giving you the ability to link climb easier. But it's also have a very, very nice additional effect, which says that basically this card cannot be targeted for attack, but it doesn't prevent your opponent from attacking you directly, which is all of the Sunavalon Link monsters, which is something I forgot to mention, that if you have another monster that are not Sunavalon, like, with this restriction, your opponent cannot attack you directly, but if you only have them, your opponent will attack you directly instead, which is really important. And then this card, once per turn, also have the ability to target one Sunvine Link monster you can basically you control, and then it can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of Sunavalon Link monster you control currently. So basically, if you have double Melises or 4 Sunavalon Link monsters, your Thrasher can attack like 4 times, which is its other use for the card. Then we have the big Sunavalon Link monster, the Link 4, which its entire point is search the trap for blue. And also, if you're going basically second, or just in general, you need to wipe the entire board, you contribute your own Link monsters, Melis, or whatever you want to, and then just pop that number of cards your opponent control, which is really, really powerful. And then Resurgence, it's basically a bounce for plants, and if it's in the grave, you're able to banish plant monsters, or plant link monsters up to the link rating of 4 or more, I believe. 4 or more. No, exactly equal 4, sorry, my apologies. And then you special summon it back from your graveyard, but banish it when you leave the field. So basically, this is just like your Compulse, which is really good, and it's also just a very, very good card that can also come back. Unfortunately, it's banished when it's leave the field, which is a shame, but it's still a very, very good card. And then for the last 3 monsters, we have Strina, we have Teardrop, and we have the Sacred Tree Beast for our, well, Xyz monsters. Teardrop is self-explanatory, as I mentioned before. You basically use Snowdrop to summon it and Mudan and go into this. But Strina is here because of Parallel Exceed and the fact that if you're able to summon this to your side of the field and tribute it with Jasmine, you're getting this card out of your extra deck, which is basically an interruption. Also, its effect says that whenever you activate a particular, any type of card, which is monster, spell, and trap, like, once per turn you get to choose that, and then you can attach the same type of card during your turn to then attach it to this card. So let's say you have a Sowing that you basically have engraved, and then you activate now a Shrine. You basically can attach the Sowing, because the spell, like the Shrine is, to this card, and then depending on the types of cards that it has, like monster, spell, and traps, it can negate these particular cards. So if you have a spell under it and a monster under it, it will be able to negate monsters and spells. If you have a trap or a monster, monsters and traps, etc., etc. Now, when it comes out with Strina's effect, it will come with a monster negation, but having the additional spell negation is just particularly nice. So, that's kind of really, really cool. But that does it for the deck list itself. Basically very simple, very self-explanatory when it comes to plant links. They're not really that hard to understand. They do have a little bit of difficult effects, but I think it's a really, really cool deck that just based around this particular card that can do anything for the entire deck. Like, if you open up with this card, this is a 1 card, 3 interruptions. If you open up with this in Parallel Exceeds, this is a 1 card, 2 cards, 5 interruptions, which I'll show you in the combo section, which we're going to jump right into, because like I mentioned at the start of the video, unfortunately, because of Sowing not being in Master Duel, I kind of cannot really give Master Duel players a good list with this without just like going into loop-de-loops around, which is something that I don't really want to do. But yeah, that's pretty much does it for the deck list itself. Let's move on into the combo section. Welcome to the combo section. In the combo section, I'm going to share with you 3 combos that I think are very important for you to know playing this deck. And the first combo is a very simple 1-card combo with Genius Loki. This normal monster, just by itself, can end you on 3 interruptions by itself, which is really cool. So let's get started. So starting things off, of course, we're going to normal summon Genius Loki, and then immediately link this off into our Link 1 Dryas. Dryas, because it was used with Genius Loki in the extra monster zone, is going to add to our hand the Sunvad Sowing. And then we're going to immediately activate Sowing, summon from our deck the Twin, and take 1,000 damage. Chainlink 1, Dryas, Chainlink 2, Twin. Twin will summon back the Loki. Of course, this goes to Grave. And Dryas is going to summon to its zone the Healer. We're then going to get the life points back, and we're going to be on a 4 on life points by our opponent, but 300 due to the effect of Healer, targeting this card, and we're getting 300 life points back. We're then going to link off Healer and Dryas into Jasmine. We're going to use Jasmine effect, tribute the Twin, and summon from our deck the Mardell. Mardell effect will add to our hand the Laurel, and since our life points are higher than our opponent, special summon Laurel. We're then going to use Laurel, and we're going to use the Mardell as our 2 link summon materials to summon our second Jasmine. And then, because we gain life points, and as I said, the effect of Jasmine to search because we gain life points is not a hard one to return, we're getting to add from our deck to our hand both of our Rika monsters, just to give us an additional more capabilities to do things. Now, on this particular point, we have the ability to link to any of our Link 4 using these 2 cards, which the one that I prefer most of the time to link into is Begalancer. But, and that is a good but, you might want to, depending on the matchup, maybe link into Dryas, depending on what you want specifically. So, if you want to link into the Dryas, that's also not a bad decision to then get the Sunavalon trap, basically. That one. This one, which I forgot the name of that. That's Sunavalon Blue. You can get that, basically, if you want to. But, in this particular point, I decided to go with Resurgence, because Resurgence is the more generic one. We're now going to use the effect of Snowdrop in our hand, tribute the Loki, special summon it, and special summon Mudan. And then we're going to use Mudan effect to add from our deck to our hand the Rika Sheet. Snowdrop will make both level 8, Exceed summon into our Teardrop, and set the Rika Sheet, and pass the turn to our opponent. So in this particular combo, we end with the tribute of this, the bounce of this, and the Snatch Steal / Infinite Permanence or effect negation of Rika Sheet, which I think is really cool. So yeah, there's some particular roads that you can take with this, but this one card, just one card, gain you all of these, which is really cool. But that does it for combo number 1. Let's move on into a more explosive combo, which is combo number 2. Now for combo number 2. For combo number 2, this is probably the combo that I consider to be probably the most insane combo that this deck can perform, which requires you to open up with Genius Loki plus Parallel Exceed. Now, of course, you could do some really cool things with any other extender, but Parallel Exceed allowing you to get the rank 4 Strena, which makes things very crazy. So these 2 cards are 5 interruptions out of 2 cards, which probably for some decks it's not like the most impressive thing in the world, but for a deck like Sunavalon, this is really amazing. Now, in the end of the combo, you're only going to be left with 3 cards in your extra deck, but, you know, sometimes you just want to build a board. Let's just be honest about that. So let's get started. Starting things off, we're going to normal summon the Genius Loki, as usual. We're going to link it off into our copy of Dryas. Chainlink 1 Dryas, Chainlink 2 Parallel Exceed. Parallel Exceed special summon to its zone. And then we're going to add from our deck to our hand the Sowing. Now Parallel Exceed in the field effect is going to activate, and we're going to summon the second copy of Parallel Exceed from our deck. And then in order to unclog this zone, we're going to exceed these 2 off into the copy of Strena, which we have to put in the middle main monster zone, basically. If we put this in the middle main monster zone, we'll just prevent some particular problems for the future, kind of like confusing zones. It's better to put it here because of reasons. Regardless, now we're going to activate the Sowing. We're going to use Sowing effect to special summon the Twin directly from the deck. Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. Chainlink 2 will give us the Genius Loki from our graveyard, and then Chainlink 1 will going to give us the Healer. Then we're going to recover our life points back and gain an additional 300 more to be 300 life points ahead of our opponent. We're then going to take Dryas, and we're going to take the Twin, and we're going to link these 2 off into Jasmine, right in our extra monster zone. Now we're going to use Strena's effect to detach a material, and in this particular point you can make this into a 2.5 card combo, because If you decide not to add twin to your hand and then just add this back to your extra deck to have another follow-up, you can do that, and then you just need to discard for something else. But in order to keep this combo self-sustained, we're going to add twin to our hand just because we need a discard. So generally, I would probably shuffle to my extra deck the Dryas, but in this particular point, I'm just going to add the twin back to my hand, because Strina's effect says that you can detach a material from this card to target a plant or a Rika card in your graveyard and add it to your hand, which is really cool. Now we're going to use the effect of Jasmine, tribute the Strina due to the effect of Jasmine, and summon from your deck the Mardell. Now, because of the effect of, well, this card that says that, well, if you tribute a plant monster and you special summon another one, the effect of Strina will trigger off to put herself as an Xyz material for a level 5 or higher plant monster, or rank of 5 or higher plant monster, which will be the Hyperton, or Sacred Tree Beast, as you prefer. We're going to summon it into our zones. I actually prefer to summon it, actually it doesn't really matter, so I'm just going to summon it here. Regardless, now we're going to activate the effect of Mardell, and we're going to act our hand the Laurel, and of course our life points are higher than our opponent. Special summon, link these two off into the second Jasmine. Chain link 1, chain link 2, just like combo 1, and we're going to add to our hand the two Rika monsters. And in this particular point, we're actually going to do something a little bit different, basically. We're going to do something very, very weird that some people kind of like going to probably ask themselves why we're doing this, but we're going to take the Jasmine plus the Genius Loki right now, and we're going to link into Melis. Using Melis effect, we're going to revive another Genius Loki from our graveyard. Next, we're going to take the Jasmine and the Genius Loki again to link into a second Melis. Now, we're going to use their effect again. We're going to bring out a Genius Loki, and then we're going to take these two and link them off into Resurgence into our zone that Melis points to. Now our extra monster zone is empty, and we basically have something really cool that we can do. We can now use the Genius Loki to link into another copy of Dryas. Dryas effect will trigger, give us the ability to get to our hand another copy of Sunvine Shrine, and then we're going to use both these two to link into our link for what her name again? Trinity. I don't know how to pronounce that one. I never knew how to pronounce that. Regardless, you're going to go into the link for, which is going to add to you the Sunavalon Bloom from your deck to your hand. Now we're going to activate the Sunvine Shrine. I'm going to use this effect. Discard the twin that you added to your hand, or the the extra card that you want to discard from your hand to the graveyard, due to activating its effect, and then now we're going to activate the effect to basically revive a Genius Loki to our side of the field. We're now going to use Snowdrop, tribute the Genius Loki, special summon itself, and a Mudan out of your hand. Mudan effect, we're going to grab the Ricochet, and then we're going to use Snowdrop effect, making both level 8s, and we're going to basically Xyz summon into Teardrop. Also, one thing that I forgot, apparently, because we activated the spell, the Sacred Bee Tree, I forgot about that, is supposed to get a material out of your graveyard, which is supposed to be a spell, which we do have the Sowing in our graveyard. For some reason, I forgot about that, because I'm always forgetting about that, but of course, like, when you see that on screen, on, on ADO Pro and stuff like that, you always remember this, because this, something that pops up. But in this particular point, I'm doing it live, so I'm forgetting this. But the point is, you're getting the discard effect when this is activated to attach a spell to it, which is really cool. So now we got the Ricochet, we got the Sunavalon Bloom, and we got the Sunvine Shrine for additional follow-up for next turn. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 interruptions from 2 cards. Sure, we only have these guys in our extra deck, but that's the reason why we also run Pot of Avarice, another card, a card that's supposed to help us recycle. Like I said, That's the reason why I want to probably run this at 3. But yeah, this is pretty much a very lengthy combo because it's really, really important. So that does it for combo number 2. Let's move on into the final combo, which is combo number 3. Alright, so for our third and final combo, I'm going to show you a combo of what happened if you don't open up with the best of hands, which is opening up with a twin in your hand, plus a sewing, and nothing else. Now, normally you want these 2 cards in your deck to just help you do the combos that I shown before, but sometimes you don't open up with a Genius Loki, you don't open up with anything else, and these are the only 2 cards in your hand, and the rest of the cards in your hand are like bricks or cards that are just not going to get you anywhere. Sometimes these happens, like you open up with like a Pot of Avarice, Monster Reborn, and let's say a Harpy Feather Duster, and you're not able to do anything with it. It is what it is, sometimes it does happen. So let's get started with this combo. So starting things off, we're going to normal summon, or should I say not normal summon, activate the sewing, and we're going to summon from our deck the Genius Loki after taking 1000 damage. And then we're going to link immediately the Loki into the copy of Dryas. Dryas effect, we're going to add from our deck to our hand the Sunvine Shrine, and then we're going to activate it immediately by discarding 1 random card from our hand. We're not going to use the effect though, we're going to use that later. Now, it is a very, very important thing to mention that basically we're going to use a lot of discards in this combo, because this is a combo, like I said, it's not the best thing in the world because we didn't really open up with a Loki. Also, one thing to mention is that our life points are going to be lower than our opponent, so the entire like crazy Jasmine L'Oreal combo is not going to work, because we're now at 7,000 and there is no way for us to recover the life points because we activated sewing before we summoned the Dryas because we didn't really have any other choice. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to normal summon the twin effect. We're going to basically summon the Loki. Now we're going to link these 2 into the copy of Jasmine. Jasmine effect, tribute the twin, and we summon from our deck the Mordell. And while in a normal combo, I would say you want to add the Laurel. Like I said before, in this particular combo, you either add to your hand the Snowdrop or the Mudan, because we don't really have any other choice regardless. So in this particular point, I want to actually add the Mudan, because I think the Mudan is the better one out of the 2 as an overall. But just to let you know, you can always just add the Snowdrop and do a particular combo with that as well, which is kind of like almost following the same combo line as this. So basically, it's kind of like the same thing, it just this requires additional another discard, but it's going to end you on 3 interruptions instead of 2, while this is going to be 2.5 card combos to end up on 2 interruptions. Honestly, it's up to you. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to use the Mordell and the Jasmine to link summon into the Malice. We're going to use the Malice effect to summon from our grave the Genius Loki, and then we're going to use the Genius Loki and the Malice to link summon into our Resurgence. Now what we're going to do is that we're going to use Mudan effect to tribute the Resurgence and special summon it out of our hand, and then search from our deck to our hand the Rika Sheet. What we're going to do now is that we're finally going to activate the Sunvine Shrine effect that we haven't activated yet, and summon back the Genius Loki. Next we're going to link this off again into another copy of Dryas, and search from our deck to our hand another copy of Sunvine Shrine, and activate it by discarding 1 additional card out of our hand. We're then going to use this effect to special summon another Genius Loki, again out of our graveyard, and then link all of these 3 off into the second copy of Malice in our extra deck, which then will summon the Genius Loki back. Or should I say, sorry, yeah, it's good to send the Genius Loki back. Then we're going to link this one off into... You could summon this with the third copy of Dryas if you want to, actually. Although I don't really see the reason why do you want to do that, because you can technically go into this or Thrusher instead and save the Dryas for a later, better turn. So it's honestly up to you. I like to go into the healer because she's not really going to do anything, and we could use her effect right now to trigger this and then gain 900 life points regardless. And now we're going to link these 2 off into our copy of the Link 4, which is then going to add from our deck to our hand the Sunavalon Bloom, and then we're going to set 2 cards to our side of the field, and use the Resurgence effect to banish one of our Malices and one of our Darius out of the graveyard to summon it back to our side of the field, which I will just summon it in the middle zone just because it looks nice. Regardless, this is basically how we're ending up our combo. We basically have an additional card in our hand, which is still pretty nice. We still have a sizable extra deck, and we have 3 interruption cards out of 3.5 cards, I guess. We have Resurgence, we have these two, and it's still really, really nice. And also, that's really cool that in a follow-up turn, we could use this card if it survives to tribute this and pop 4 cards using its effect. Yes, this card will be banished, but we are going to be able to pop 4 cards non-targeting effect, which is really cool. So that does it for combo number 3 and does it for the combo section as a whole. Hope you enjoyed this and you learned something new if you didn't know about the deck. But now let's move on into the next deck choices. Alright, so for the next deck choices, we don't really have any change from last time. Again, just like the Salmon Great List, these are the 4 options just before. I just decided to do this particular deck before because I do like this deck so much and I wanted to do this list for a while. So that's why I decided to kind of like postpone again the 4 decks that are before you, which are like the 4 waifu decks that I wanted to do for a while, because I really, really wanted to get this video out because I really like this deck and its strategy, and I do like the plant stuff. Not only like, you know, Akiza and everything, but just in general, I do like plant decks. Not as much as like zombie decks, but I do enjoy them quite a bit. So I wanted to do this because I kind of finally just figure out how I do play with a deck. I know that some people basically could say, you know, there's different things that they would use. But for me specifically, this list worked, and I just wanted to play with that one after testing it for a while. But yeah, that's pretty much does it for the video itself. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you do. Remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.